Welcome to this neighborhood, neighbor.
I am the Martian ambassador.
Des Moines and all of Central Iowa, welcome to Max World Live. Max World is your world. Every day we talk about the issues and topics that matter most to you. And as always, it's your voice we want to hear in Max World. So join the conversation by calling 515-244-0077. And now, here's the host of Max World Live, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, good afternoon. 7 minutes after 4 o'clock on this Groundhog Day 2016. I'm Jamie Michael McCoy. Welcome to the second edition of Max World. Tom Coates and Craig Robinson, both via CenturyLink. Our phone lines will be with us at about 20 minutes after 4 o'clock as we give a recap of yesterday's caucuses. I just was amazed at how much stuff went on. I mean, there's Hillary stuff, there's Bernie stuff, there's Cruz stuff, there's Carson stuff. I mean, there's just stuff all over.
I couldn't believe how many people came to our caucus.
Yeah, we were Clive 3 and 4, and we were supposed to have like 1,800 people. So 9 and 9, maybe not even that much.
Even the candidates, though.
Yeah, and what'd they do? Oh, yeah. We had like 3,000 people. And they, of course, in the caucus, everybody has to have a chair.
Yep.
And then we had 5 candidates? 6?
4, I think.
4 or 5?
Yeah.
All right. I want to spend some next few minutes here with a young lady by the name of Rebecca Kiesling. She is here with Tim Overland with Personhood for Life. And,
Personhood, Iowa.
Personhood, Iowa. And tonight at 7 p.m., she will be at Drake University, Standing for Life, Students for Life. And where is that? What building? Is that Olmsted?
No, it's on the one on the backside on Forest. It's Henry. I can't remember.
It's off of Forest on the backside of Drake.
Right across from the stadium.
7 a.m. tomorrow morning, State Capitol. She'll be speaking to all of our representatives about this very important issue, continuing to work very hard in Iowa to have a personhood bill. And what that would mean is that from the moment, well, I guess I should ask, what that means is that from the moment of conception, they are protected under the Constitution of the United States of having the right to live.
Yeah. In Roe v. Wade, the court discussed this issue and said that if the state of Texas argument is true that they're persons, they would be entitled to their 14th Amendment due process and equal protection rights. And then they did an analysis of whether they've ever been recognized as persons in the full legal sense. And the law is really schizophrenic. There's some ways that they're recognized as persons, like every state you have a right to inherit. You know, if you're a preborn child that's capable of being legally protected, the court can appoint a guardian ad litem to represent your best interests in a probate case, in an estate case. If you were, conceived before someone died, you have that right to inherit, but you don't have a right to life. So personhood is it's like as if the court was directing states, look, if you really want to have them protected, then you need to recognize them as persons in the full legal sense, and this is how you do it.
And I hope we do that. And the governor should lead that in his last. Don't laugh. I know you're not a big fan of Branstad, and you shouldn't be.
Just want him to keep his word.
Yeah, I was going to say you
That's
shouldn't
all I've
be.
asked.
He did not keep his word to you.
Exactly.
And it was a public
Any of
word.
us.
It was in video.
All of us.
Yeah, it was during a debate with
Bob Vanderplatz and Rod Roberts.
Yeah. The other thing that bothers me about the abortion laws is if a woman is driving to Planned Parenthood to have an abortion and I blow the red light and I T-bone her, and in my fault that unborn child is killed, I can be charged with manslaughter. But if she put on her brakes and I skidded by and she made it another block to Planned Parenthood and an hour later she killed that child, she has a right to do it.
And that's how the law is schizophrenic. That's one of many ways.
Mm-hmm. Do you? And you're a wonderful advocate. This is like gay marriage to me. I just think that we've lost that battle. And I think the battle now, and I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. I want to also step up sex education in our government schools and explain to kids the consequence, not that they get pregnant, but that they could kill the creation, their creation, a child of God, and they'll have to carry that with them every day for the rest of their lives. Because they're not taught that, are they, in government schools?
Well, they're not taught the second part of that, Mac, because Planned Parenthood has the contract in the state of Iowa to teach sex education.
Wow.
So it's like a customer advertising system. That's a contract that's due up this year. That's another thing that we would like the governor not to renew.
That would be nice, too.
So tomorrow I'm also going to be working on messaging because it's in my best interest, being conceived in rape and advocating through my organization, Save the One, for our people group, conceived in rape, mothers from rape. It's in our best interest to educate and equip legislators, candidates, and leaders on how to properly defend the life of the child conceived in rape. I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we're doing that education. And so I'm here to do that. And we have a 5-state study on the best messaging on this issue. And when I spoke on Capitol Hill a few years ago, I told the congressman that I have tips on our website, on SaveTheOne.com, on how to do the proper messaging, and they all said it's got to be research-based. Well, we now have that research. Very expensive 5-state study, online, interactive. We could show that we could dramatically sway people's opinion on this issue, which I have found to be the case over the years. I mean, if I can change the heart of presidential candidates, governors during the presidential race, that shows you can really change the heart of anyone. If someone's 99% pro-life, you just need to bring them over 1%. And I find it's very easy to bring people over once they, number one, have a face to the issue. And then number two, with this messaging, really the best messaging, aside from putting the face to the issue, is to appeal to people's sense of justice, that this is America where we don't punish innocent people for someone else's crime. And then you can flip it on your opponent and say, maybe my opponent believes in punishing babies for some rapist crime, but, I, for one, am not going to do it. That's extreme. We don't do that in America.
All right, let's say that I'm this will be a stretch, I'm elected official, and I'm before you tomorrow, and you want to give me one hint on improving my messaging. What would it be?
Don't use the word it.
Okay, when it comes to talking about the unborn.
Yeah, and that's a pet peeve of mine, is that it's really common to hear even pro-life leaders say it's a child, not a choice. No, he or she is a child, not a choice. They have a gender. When I represented the mother in Michigan's frozen embryo case, I'm an attorney too, by the way, the doctors testified, the infertility doctors testified that from conception, they are literally male or female, and ascertainably so. Like in the high-profile case with Sofia Vergara and Nick Loeb, they're fighting over their embryos right now. They know that they're female. These are their daughters. These are not an it, but they're daughters.
So should I say he, she?
He or she.
He or she.
He or she.
Okay.
And say and even better, speak in terms of relationship. Because, for example, with embryos, a lot of people can't relate to the concept of an embryo, but they can relate to the concept of sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, that, to say that I'm the mother of an embryo and I'm trying to spare the lives of my sons and daughters. I mean, that's my co-founder of Embryo Defense, Halessia McQueen from Missouri, is fighting for her children, her sons and daughters right now in the Missouri Court of Appeals. And so I encourage people to use that kind of terminology to talk about sons and daughters, because that's something that people can relate to.
Didn't you teach us preborn?
Yeah, preborn. I mean, there's a sci-fi movie called The Unborn. It's actually like a horror flick, that doesn't. There's actually some research on that shows that preborn definitely resonates.
Hey, I deal with reality as you find it, not how you want it to be. I mean, the American people are behind certain things. They don't want abortions in the third trimester. They want parental notification for their adolescent teens getting abortions. we have to. I think we need to have a dual effort. I applaud your effort, but can we have a dual simultaneous effort going on of progressively trying to chip away at the same time to somehow coincide with your effort? I'm not saying your effort's all wrong. There's merits to your effort, but you have to convince the American people. And until you convince the American people, I say you need to progressively chip away at their rights. And I think you can do it through parental notification and no third trimester abortions, because the American people are solidly behind that.
Okay, 1 minute, Rebecca.
Okay, well, I support incremental legislation as long as it doesn't discriminate against a class of persons. Michigan passed parental notification laws like decades ago, and we keep pushing the ball forward. But I mean, look at the gay community, and look how they haven't said, well, let's just barely chip away. I mean, they went at it, they chipped away a little bit, but they went for some big stuff. And I feel like, we've settled. I mean, in any other movement, you don't see people settling like they do in the pro-life movement. I feel like we've kind of lost the ideal here. We've dabbled in mediocrity so long, and we have so little achievement that there's a lot of people who stopped voting pro-life because they feel like, well, why should I vote pro-life for mediocre politicians who are barely doing anything?
Rebecca Kiesling has been our guest along with Tim Overland. She will be at the she'll be at Drake University tonight, 7 p.m. Students for Life, 7 a.m. tomorrow at the Iowa State Capitol, noon pastor's luncheon, teaching us, you and me, the right kind of messaging to accomplish a zero tolerance on the death of unborn children. Persons, therefore personhood. Rebecca, thanks for being here. We're coming back live with the Talk of the Caucuses next.
Yeah.
21 minutes after 4 o'clock, 4:21, second day of February, Groundhog Day. He did not see his shadow.
Woohoo!
What does that mean? I don't know why. I don't know
That
why.
guarantees an early spring, guaranteed. It's scientific proof, Mac.
It's an early spring today.
Kind of.
Kind of it is. I mean, consider February 2nd, and we're at, 41 degrees. And nothing's freezing on the ground. It could have been a mess. All right. But because of the, what do they call that? The end of the world is a what?
Apocalypse or Armageddon.
Because of the snow eclipse today, neither Tom Coates or Craig Robinson were able to drive to our studios. So thanks to the invention by Thomas Edison and the continuation of research with Ma Bell, we have both of these fine young men on the telephone with us. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hi, Mac. Hey, Mac.
Craig, how are you doing? You got a sick one at home, I hear.
Well, yeah, my wife and I were trading off this morning with the snow, so she's working now. I'm at home. So.
All right, well, we're glad to have you here on the phone, and we appreciate you both being here. Obviously, it's over. They're gone. Breathe deep. I'm focused on Valentine's Day and what to get my wife. But I'm amazed at these little teeny scandals that are popping up. I would give the full results today, but we all know them. Cruz won. Trump barely squeaked past Rubio. Carson was a distant fourth. Huckabee's gone. Mallory's gone. There are other people that we believe will be gone after New Hampshire or South Carolina. But let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about this, and you can use whatever word you want. I think it should be a scandal that the Ted Cruz campaign has admitted out loud they've apologized to Dr. Ben Carson because at 6:20 last night they released press releases and began to tweet that Carson was bowing out of the race after tonight, so throw your support to Cruz. Obviously, that was not true. It seems that came from a CNN report that Ben Carson, after the Iowa caucus, was going to fly home to Florida. Now, I don't know how you fly home to Florida and quit the campaign. Why can't a guy go home overnight? It was actually to get some clothes. So, Craig, I'll let you start. Tell me what your thoughts on that whole little scandal is.
Well, it was really interesting last night. You know, my precinct in Ankeny was jam-packed, and so we were getting off to a late start, and my phone rang. And I looked down, and it's Rick Santorum calling me. And I thought, well, that's really strange. Why is Rick Santorum calling me, when we should be speaking at caucuses? So I decided to kind of step out and take it. And he asked me, he's like, hey, have you seen this story from CNN about Carson quitting? And I said, no. I go, why would he suspend his campaign as people are just starting to caucus? So really weird. And he said, well, I had a couple Cruz people come up and show it to me, and they asked me if I was going to say anything in my remarks. And he told them that, no, I'm not going to say anything. That's none of my business. I don't know if that's true. I'm not going to say it in my remarks. If other people want to say it in their remarks, I guess that's fine. That's just not how I'm going to do it. And I remember just thinking, how bizarre is that? And then here today, this has been the scandal of the day. And so I think there's a little something to this. And look, Ted Cruz's campaign manager is known for kind of being very aggressive, maybe overly aggressive.
Is his first name Don?
No, his first name's Jeff Rowe.
All right.
His, campaign manager.
All right. So, Craig, that's a great story about Santorum. And that just adds to this whole, in a way, it was a very strategic and calculating political move on Cruz's part to push somebody who should have been in the top three out of the top three. In fact, quite distantly out of the top three. But is it dirty politics? Tom Coates, what's your thought?
Oh, I think it is, but I think a lot of people, including Jeb Bush, when he was asked about some of his attack ads, said all's fair in love, war, and politics. And I don't think that people are going to be too surprised at that. My own experience last night was, which I guess a lot of Iowans were, we caucused at the Norwalk High School 4 years ago. We were in the lunchroom and had maybe barely 300 people. We had closer to 800, and we pretty much filled up the auditorium last night. I was asked to help, so I was instead of speaking much, I was actually the timekeeper for the speakers last night, Mac.
Ooh, so what did you do when they got over time?
There's only one guy that pushed the envelope, and that was the last guy for Trump. I kept waving the card up at him, and I finally held up my hands and I motioned for the head of the affair to grab him, and he finally got him off. But everybody else was pretty good.
I was a timekeeper at a caucus 4 years ago, and I was criticized and complimented for this. This was at the old DeWay building, which now is the Iowa Lottery. I'm a radio guy. You want to get somebody to shut up? Shut their mic off. So I did. I told every candidate speaker that I would tell you when your time. I would tell you 10 seconds before your time. I would tell you when you were at zero time. And at 10 seconds afterwards, your mic would go off. And a couple guys tested me on that, and they were moving their lips, but nobody could hear. All right, Craig, help me. Treat me like I'm a 6-year-old child who thinks that the political system is all about love and fairness and honesty and justice, and convinced me that what Ted Cruz's campaign did last night was just standard operating procedure, and I shouldn't be jumping up and down throwing in red and yellow flags.
I have a hard time doing that, Max, because, look, I mean, when it's game time, when it's, 7 o'clock at night and the caucuses are starting, you'd think you'd be focused on your people and not sending out this email and doing all of that stuff. I mean, I just have a hard time not seeing that there was some sort of motive behind this. I mean, because look, people like Steve King, help spread this stuff around too. I mean, so it was a concerted effort to get it to their people so that, they could spread it around as much as possible. And in the case of my story with Santorum, maybe even get another campaign to help you, spread this so it's not all just on you.
Craig Robinson from the Iowa Republican and Tom Coates for Consumer Credit of Des Moines. Have you written your blog on the caucuses yet at the IowaRepublican.com?
I have not. I had like 2 hours of sleep and then did a round of media hits this morning. So tomorrow morning will be my...
Okay. All right, no, that's good. I just want to publicize it, and it's not there yet, so make sure you check it, in 20 hours or so.
There you go.
All right, so standard operating procedure. This is just politics, because see, I'm a justice guy, and it's clearly a gift from God as well as a character defect when used incorrectly. Because I just think, and I'm not a Cruz guy, so maybe that's why I feel this way. But I just think every single network news at 5 or 5:30 or 6 or 7 or whenever it is tonight, this ought to be the lead story that Cruz cheated. He lied, he stole, and he cheated. Now, I understand that all these people jumped on the bandwagon, and if the architect of this is a good architect, there's only one person that has everybody has deniable plausibility, and only one guy's guilty, and we'll never know who that was, and that's the guy that planted the seed. I don't think Steve King actually thought this was a ruse. I don't think Steve King said, let's knock some votes over from Carson to Cruz by putting this lie out there. I don't think that's what he did. I think one guy told a lie, and everybody else did what everybody else does, and that's just carry the message forward. Am I naive on that, Tom? Am I naive?
Oh, I don't know, Mac. In an active campaign like you've got going here, and he attracted so many different people to think that that everybody's going to toe the line when they're aggressive and they're sold out for Cruz for whatever reason, and they see all these. you guys probably had the same thing as I did. I'd get a dozen calls a day. I get these flyers. I'd see these attack ads. I've never seen such a velocity of ads and attack ads going on. And when you're in that heat of that battle, I think they felt like anything was fair. And I'm not saying that that Cruz would have endorsed that. I doubt that he did. But some of the people around him were fervent. Might be a very kind term.
Last words on this, Craig. I'll give it to you.
Sure. I think that the thing that happened was that CNN did report something on Carson, and the Cruz campaign didn't take the report at its word. They made it something that it was not. And so I think this goes all the way up to, I think, the communications team with the Cruz campaign, which again gets you to the upper echelon of the decision-making process. And so this wasn't something that started just to happen at local precincts with someone spreading it around. The Cruz campaign sent an email, and that's why I think that there's a little fire here where we smell a lot of smoke.
And should I just shut up? I mean, I guess I'm asking. Should I just be quiet? Should I be Benghaziing this thing and take it all the way till everybody's tired of listening to it because I think it's that big a deal, or is this just politics and let it go on? Craig?
Well, it's sad because it is politics, and there's not a lot we can do to rectify the situation.
All right, next topic: 6 coin tosses.
You know what the odds of that are, Mac? You know what the odds are?
No.
1.7%. With 6 coin tosses straight would all come up for Hillary. Less than 2%. You smell a rat there?
Yeah, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there were 6 Democratic caucuses where Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton was tied. Now, you would think in 2016, in the advanced technology and human cycle we have created on the planet Earth, we would come up with something better than heads or tails. But they did it. When they're tied, you flip a coin. If it's heads, it's Hillary. If it's tails, it's Bernie. And 6 out of 6 came up Hillary Clinton. Why is this important? Had it gone the other way, Bernie would have 3 more votes than Clinton, and the headline would have been Bernie Sanders wins Iowa. Really? Craig, is this the best the Democrats can do, is flip a coin?
Do you want to know what's even crazier? It's not like so if there's a tie and they have to determine a winner, it's really more loosely stated than that in their rules. So you have to have something to determine, just something. And so I was talking to someone who went to a Democrat caucus training, and they were saying, you can flip a coin or you can play rock, paper, scissors to figure it out. I mean, can you imagine that? We're gonna see who wins the Iowa caucuses statewide by a couple of activists doing rock, paper, scissors. You gotta be kidding me.
Maybe they could let their main delegates to their speakers have a wrestling match in the middle of the caucus. That might be more entertaining.
And here's the other thing. I don't know. Maybe they should let the media know if there's going to be a coin toss. Hey, these precincts are tied. The media would have rushed over. The coin toss would have been great had there been people to observe it, to believe it. But we all know that, how the Hillary Clinton campaign works and their tactics. And so it adds a level of doubt.
Craig Robinson from the IowaRepublican.com, Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America. We're coming back live here. Talk on the caucus on The Truth. 22 minutes before 5 o'clock, 4:38, second day of February, the day after the big Iowa caucuses. You know who the winners are. You know who didn't win. You know Huck's out. I don't know how your caucus was. It seems that every caucus was bursting at the seams. 180,000 Republicans. Former record. No, did I get that right? Yeah, 180,000. Former record is 122. Democrats also broke every record. The weather helped, but it's certainly, there should be no question that the Iowa caucuses are successful and should remain here, the first caucus in the nation. Yeah, I don't think it should matter if we pick the winner or not. The fact is that we turned out. That would be like firing. That would be like closing down the Des Moines Register because they didn't pick the right candidate. That the candidate they picked didn't win.
I'm fine with that, Mac.
Yeah, I bet you would be.
That was, who was that on the phone?
Tom Coates and IowaRepublican.com. Craig Robinson is on the phone with us. Next scandal. I don't know. Is it a scandal? Iowa precinct captain revealed as paid out-of-state staffer for Clinton campaign. Normal, Mr. Robinson, or just scandal? What is it?
Scandal. This is look. You can have an out-of-state surrogate. I mean, in my caucus, we had someone from Florida speak on behalf of Governor Bush. We had a gentleman from California speak on behalf of Ben Carson, the Huckabee supporter.
But they weren't the precinct captain, though.
This is my point. So it's one thing to send a surrogate speaker, but the party is complicit in this. If they're allowing a out-of-state activist, paid campaign staffer to conduct the caucus, how is that even possible? Is beyond me. This is a much bigger scandal than what we just finished talking about, in my opinion.
I'm sorry, what is the bigger scandal?
The Clinton thing. I mean, could you imagine you show up to put it in our scenario. You show up to your caucus, Mac, and it's run by, the bunch of paid Bush operatives. Do you trust the count? You trust that the ballots were handed out correctly or people weren't turned away, that it was counted, the result was counted right? I mean, this is bad. I mean, caucuses are unique because it's all run by volunteers and Iowans and from their local precincts, like was, in my precinct definitely last night. If you're letting some, paid operative be in charge of a caucus site, you're asking for a lot of trouble.
That is bad.
But Craig, let me ask you: was that same precinct? Was that one that went down to a coin flip?
I do not know that.
Okay.
I haven't followed that.
Because I was going to say, if it was one of the ones that came down to a coin flip, I mean, really, it's really out of that person's control. I mean, it's a coin flip, right?
But let's just say this: maybe Clinton squeaked a victory and it was miscounted when we were. I mean, because a lot of these Democrat caucuses, there's a lot of people there, and so they'll have everyone in the room and they'll say, okay, if you're with Hillary Clinton, we're going to count you as you walk out the room, right? And, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. I'm just adding a little bit. I mean, who's going to, it's easy to put your thumb on the scale. And that's why this is bad.
Or you allow the Clinton speaker to go an extra minute long and you cut the other one short and try to embarrass them. I mean, there's all sorts of chicanery that can go on, and you expect that with the Clintons. For gosh sakes, guys. When Bernie says he wants a recount, he wants to challenge what went on, it was close. You're not going to get that. The establishment is in the bag for Hillary. But I will renew, guys, my prediction from months ago. Part of it was the criminal activity of the Hill Beast. Part of it is she is such a weak candidate that in the final analysis, they probably don't feel like they can afford to let her have it. And they're going to force her out one way or another, and we say candidate Biden or candidate Warren in the not-too-distant future. I'm going to still make that prediction.
Can I ask an ignorant question, guys? How is Joe Biden get in this race? Like, how does that work at this point?
It's doesn't work at this point.
Okay, that's kind of
you have a state filing deadline, so he could get in the race, but there's going to be a number of states that he's not going to qualify for if he were to run. And secondly, what you could do is Hillary stays in the race, gets enough delegates to prevent Sanders from it, and then it goes to convention, and then you nominate anyone you want from the floor. That's what's more likely to happen.
Yeah, I think something like that. And they do have the super delegates too in the Democratic convention.
Well, if Craig is correct, and I'm not doubting that you are, that would mean that our theory, Tom, that at the last minute, the Obama administration will allow the FBI to indict Hillary, and then Obama will lift up Uncle Joe as the savior for the party. That's not going to happen. That can't happen, right, Craig?
Oh, I think it can still happen.
It can if it's an open convention. If Sanders doesn't have, well, look, I mean, the other way it can happen is Hillary has enough delegates, is indicted, and Sanders keeps it away, and then it's an open convention process where they can nominate anyone from the floor.
Yeah, I don't think she necessarily needs to be indicted, guys. I think the threat hanging over with the pardon as, the carrot and the stick would be enough to get her to tap dance to their tune.
All right, we're going to take no, I'm off. No, we're right. We're going to take our next break here at 4:45. Nope, I got 3 minutes left. Sorry, got 3 minutes. All right, this is probably internet fodder, and I can't tell at this time, so I'm just going to bring it up. I don't know if it's fact. Well, I don't know if it's fact.
right. Sure.
But Trump is now apparently in a speech this morning, if this is true, Trump questioned whether Iowa is authentically a state, if they were given statehood in 1865 like they should have.
That's funny.
Has anybody else heard that?
No.
No, I have not heard it.
I didn't think that. I think that's a rib.
All right. So, given that, you got to admit, Donald J. Trump acted pretty respectfully last night when he didn't win Iowa. I honestly, it was one of the first times I've been impressed by him in several weeks. I thought he was going to come out and, cry in his spilled milk.
Too smart for that.
Well, I think this is where I watched Trump and everything that he's capable of, and I'm always disappointed at he always takes the easy way out. He doesn't ever do the hard thing. And so this is where I think if he would have managed his Iowa expectations, there is no way that the result last night could have been viewed as a loss. I mean, this guy got 45,000 votes. And yet, because he always has to win everything and every lead in every poll, the media, especially the national media, can have a heyday.
Craig, can I ask you a question here? At my precinct, there was no one to stand up in caucus and actually speak for the Trump campaign, and that was happening in a lot of other places. Do you think that all of the hype that you're talking about, Craig, that Trump was the winner, he was the greatest, he was going to win Iowa, do you think that kept some of his supporters home, saying, "Hey, we're going to win anyway"?
Absolutely. Oh, they don't need me. I mean, who am I? I think that hurt, and I think he might have. If the dynamics were different going in, that if the polling showed Ted Cruz winning, and you could motivate people through, hey, turn up and make a message and send a message tonight, then it would have been different. But he regained that winner mantle that he loves so much a week and a half before. And so I think everyone saw that. The exit polls showed it, or the entrance polls in this case. But every indication was he had it won. Well, if he has it won, and I'm not used to going to this stuff, then why do I need to go?
All right, Craig Robinson from the Iowa Republican.com, Tom Coates, Consumer Credit of Des Moines, on the line with us today. Chris Roloff and Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, in the studio. If you want to text us a thought on the Service Legends True Text line, 809-0993. When we come back, now what? New Hampshire, South Carolina, Super Tuesday, Nevada. We're going to talk about it next. You wanted me to bring up? Oh, it's past. What was it?
You're on. Doesn't matter. You're on.
All right, we are about 10 minutes before the hour of 5 o'clock this afternoon. Hank, the Bible Answer Man, at 5, and that number is 1-888-ASK-HANK, and you can call in on that national show. Craig Robinson from the Iowa Republican and Tom Coates, I almost called you Tom Cruise. Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America. So how does Iowa impact New Hampshire?
Mac, let me say this before you get into it.
All right.
I don't know if you're aware of it, but there are some wagering sites where they handicap this race and where actually people can bet on this. But one of the things that Iowa did do that you may not be aware of, it totally flip-flopped who was the favorite on the handicapper site. Donald Trump was the clear favorite, over 50%. He and Marco Rubio changed places. It didn't create much of a bump for Ted Cruz, but it flip-flopped. Now, Marco Rubio is a decided favorite on the handicapping site, and Donald Trump is second. They've flip-flopped places by a significant degree.
That cost some people some money. So, Mr. Robinson, what do you think comes next? How does what happened in Iowa impact? For instance, is Hillary going for the juggler now? I mean, is she pulling out all the stops now, or is she still waiting until Super Tuesday?
No, number one, I think Hillary realizes that if she can even, fight New Hampshire to a draw, she will fatally ruin Sanders in New Hampshire. She has every incentive to really, try to stop him there. And then if that doesn't work, I mean, South Carolina will be a bloodbath for Sanders. But look, I think if Iowa did anything last night, I think that it severely damaged Donald Trump and put Marco Rubio in a position where I think he might, in my mind, I think today he might be the favorite to be the nominee. He has a full head of steam going into New Hampshire.
He sure looked happy on TV last night. I mean, genuinely happy.
Mac, he should have been happy last night because I guarantee you what was going on last night as the results were coming in is donors were talking to donors, and they were saying, we're done with this Bush thing. What a joke. What a colossal failure this was. Marco Rubio's our guy. We're going to get behind him. We're going to coalesce behind his candidacy. I think ultimately what we're going to see is a Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz nomination fight. And I think that Iowa really reset the entire field in New Hampshire. And so we'll see if John Kasich, Chris Christie, Jeb Bush can do anything there. I doubt it. I think we have a three-person race for right now with Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio. But look, I don't know if I think Trump there's a risk that he might not perform well in New Hampshire. And if that's the case, the emperor has no clothes. He's going home, and it's a two-person race between these two very different and dynamic young Republican candidates.
Tom?
I don't disagree with much of what he's saying. I think the elevated expectations, and Trump himself has been touting this. I have a huge lead in New Hampshire. The problem with that is now you have to deliver on that huge lead. If he just wins it by a small degree, I think he is savaged, and I think he's damaged. So he needs to win New Hampshire by a significant margin to maintain his position. But I tell you, I think the winner, according to the national people, and they hate Cruz, and they don't want Trump, and so Rubio is certainly the much more palatable candidate. And I think at this point, perception is reality, and I think Rubio comes out of Iowa, even though he's third, he came out the big winner last night.
Tom Coates, Consumer Credit of Des Moines, and Craig Robinson, the IowaRepublican.com. Craig, I think you know this. I don't know if we've talked since then, but a couple of weeks ago, I just kind of dumped Trump. I hadn't come out for him yet, but Tom is one of my best buddies, and obviously the guys here at the station and my good friends knew that I was probably going to caucus for Trump. I don't endorse candidates, so I wouldn't have said anything till today anyway. But after he made that comment that his followers were so loyal that he could shoot somebody in Fifth Avenue and I'd still vote for him. Because what I heard was Mac is so naive and so gullible that I could do the one thing that Mac is appalled by, and that's death of another human being, and he would still come vote for me. And so I was done. How does Trump walk away? How does his ego allow him to walk away until the convention's over? He's got the money. Why would he step out of the race at any time? Why wouldn't he just push the RNC to give him a place on the podium at the convention and announce that he'll support whoever the candidate is because he wants America great again? How does he step out of the race?
Well, number one, I think he's already got a podium spot at the convention. I think he's earned that, to be quite honest with you. Even if they don't want him to speak, I think there's a reason, a very political reason why you put him on that stage. And if they don't, I think it's bad news. I mean, I think he doesn't want to get embarrassed. And having a narrative where he is underperforming or losing, he is not built for that. And here's the other thing, that the campaign changes dramatically in 8 days. The Iowa and New Hampshire are advantages because you can campaign here for a year. Take your time, build your schedule. It's predictable. There's things you need to go to, but it's all spread out over a long period of time. What happens now is it's an intense 8 days of campaigning in New Hampshire, followed by an intense period of time before South Carolina, followed by an intense period of time before. It becomes work. If Donald Trump thinks he's tired now after Iowa, guess what? It really intensifies, and it gets very, very difficult.
All right, I want to. I'll give you both a chance to say anything else. We're out of time here in about a minute and a half. But Tom, anything to add, or Craig?
No, I think it's been exciting. It was even more intense than the 2008 thing we went through, Mac. So I'm glad for it to be over, but it was exciting.
I'll add this, Mac. Cruz and Rubio benefited from this being a caucus and not a primary, because people could go to their caucus sites, look at the turnout, and make a decision. That's why we had the results and the surprises we had last night.
All right, Craig Robinson, I look forward to your blog sometime here in the next 24 hours or whenever it gets out, the IowaRepublican.com. Craig's a wonderful writer. He's a genuine guy. He genuinely cares about Iowa, and you'll find that every one of, well, I can't say everyone, most of the blogs that I've ever read by Craig are very well thought out, intelligent, not sneery. Is that a word, Bob? Sneery?
I don't think so.
Snarly, not vindictive. And
Snarky.
Snarky. There you go. Thanks, Frank. And, of course, Tom Coates, my good friend. He and I have been through a lot of political battles over the years, and this was just the next one that we had to deal with. Thank you both very much for being on the radio with us today, and I look forward for all of you to be in the studio. Hank, the Bible Answer Man, is coming up next. Until I see you again, remember, you did something yesterday. Somebody made you mad. Somebody offended you. You need to forgive them. I know it's hard, but remember, as you forgive, you shall be forgiven. I'll see you in church.